What happens when a CEO fires the wrong employee to protect his own son? I was told I was dismissed for undermining family trust. I didn't argue. I left. 24 hours later, a national security director walked into the boardroom and said one sentence that ended everything. But before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? My name is Kolby Varon. I'm 41 years old. For the past 16 years, I've been the senior systems engineer at Crane Technologies, a mid-sized defense contractor nestled in the industrial corridor outside Denver. The kind of place where glass doors reflect mountain peaks and parking spots are assigned by rank. I never cared about the view. I cared about the systems. The open-plan engineering floor was my domain. Rows of monitors glowing pale blue, cables bundled beneath desks, the low hum of cooling fans mixing with the occasional keyboard clatter. It smelled like burnt coffee and recycled air. I liked it that way. Predictable. Stable. My desk sat in the corner, away from the windows, where I could see everyone and no one could see my screen without walking past 3 cubicles first. I wasn't flashy. I didn't pitch ideas in meetings or volunteer for committees. I fixed things. When servers failed at 2 a.m., I logged in from home. When protocols needed updates, I wrote them. When access permissions tangled into bureaucratic knots, I untangled them. Quietly, efficiently, without fanfare. That's what made me useful. That's also what made me invisible. Elliot Crane, the CEO, was 58 and looked like he'd been carved from boardroom mahogany. Silver hair swept back, Italian suits tailored to intimidate, voice trained to fill rooms. He'd inherited the company from his father and spent 2 decades expanding it into government contracts and classified projects. He was good at what he did. He was better at reminding everyone else that he was good at what he did. His son, Noah, was 27 and worked as a junior executive in operations. Tall, confident, careless. He had his father's build, but none of his discipline. Noah treated the office like an extension of his college fraternity. Loud jokes in the hallway, long lunches that turned into afternoons, access privileges he hadn't earned but received anyway. I first noticed the problem 3 months before I was terminated. It was a Tuesday. I was running a routine audit on file transfers, checking logs for anomalies. Standard procedure. Nothing exciting. Then I saw it. An upload sequence from Noah's workstation. Large file, external server. Time-stamped at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. I leaned closer to the screen. The destination address wasn't on our approved vendor list. The file size suggested bundled documents. The upload had bypassed 2 verification layers. I flagged it. Sent a report to Luxfrost, our internal compliance officer. Polite, professional, no accusations, just data. Lux responded 3 hours later with a single sentence. Reviewed, no action needed. I frowned at the email. Reviewed how? By whom? I didn't push. I filed the exchange and moved on. 2 weeks later, it happened again. Different server, same workstation, larger file. This time I copied the log entries into a separate folder on my personal drive. Not out of malice, out of habit. Engineers document anomalies. It's what we do. The company cafeteria was where hierarchies became visible. Executives near the windows. Engineers near the vending machines. Support staff near the kitchen. I usually ate alone, scanning news on my phone while chewing through a sandwich. One afternoon, I overheard Noah's voice from the executive table. Loud enough to carry. "Old rules slow everything down," he said, laughing. "My dad's generation built this place on handshakes and hunches. Now we've got engineers trying to lock down every click like we're launching missiles." His colleagues laughed. One of them glanced toward the engineering section. I didn't look up. "Replaceable," someone muttered. More laughter. I finished my sandwich, threw the wrapper away, walked back to my desk. That night, I ran another audit. 5 unauthorized uploads in 6 weeks, all from Noah's workstation, all bypassing protocol, all ignored by compliance. I wrote a second report. This time I included timestamps, destination addresses, and bypass patterns. I sent it to Lux Frost again. I CC'd Martha Ellison, the board chair. Lux replied within an hour. Kolby, appreciate the diligence. This has been reviewed at the executive level. No further action required. Martha didn't reply at all. I stared at the email for a long time. Reviewed at the executive level. That meant Elliot Crane had seen it. That meant he'd approved it. I closed my laptop, poured a glass of water, stared out my apartment window at the city lights below. The next morning, I received a calendar invite. Subject line: Private meeting, E. Crane. Time, 2 p.m. Location, CEO's office. I arrived 5 minutes early. Elliot's assistant waved me in without a word. The office was exactly what you'd expect. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Rockies, a bronze sculpture of an eagle perched on a marble base, framed photos of Elliot shaking hands with senators and generals. Elliot sat behind his desk, fingers steepled. He didn't stand when I entered. "Sit," he said. I sat. He studied me for a moment. Not angry, not disappointed, just cold. "Kolby," he began, "you've been with us a long time." 16 years, I said. 16 years, he repeated. "And in that time, you've been reliable, competent, thorough." I waited. "But recently," he continued, "you've been raising concerns that undermine trust, specifically trust within this family." I blinked. I submitted standard audit reports. "You questioned my son's work," Elliot said flatly. "You implied negligence. You bypassed chain of command." "I followed protocol," I said. "I flagged anomalies. That's my job." "Your job," Elliot said, leaning forward, "is to support this company, not disrupt it." I felt something shift in the room. Not anger, not fear, just clarity. "This isn't about protocol," I said quietly. Elliot's expression didn't change. "Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. Severance will be processed within 30 days. Security will escort you out." I stood. "I'd like to see the documentation." "There is no documentation," Elliot said. "This is a family business. I protect my family." 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. I turned and walked between them. My badge was deactivated before I reached the elevator. My access credentials were revoked before I left the building. My desk was cleared before I reached the parking garage. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, engine off, hands on the wheel, staring at the concrete wall in front of me. Then my phone vibrated. An email. Unfamiliar domain. Subject line: Confidential inquiry. I opened it. "Mr. Varon, we need to speak. Please respond within 24 hours. The sender's address ended in Gov. I didn't respond immediately. Not out of fear, out of caution. Engineers don't react. We analyze. I drove home in silence. My apartment was 15 minutes from the office. 3rd floor, 1 bedroom, minimal furniture, clean lines, everything in its place. I liked order. Order meant control. I set my phone on the kitchen counter and stared at the email again. The sender was listed as H. Weiss, Federal Systems Oversight. No signature, no explanation, just the request. I opened my laptop and searched the domain. Legitimate, active. Registered to a national security division I'd heard of but never interacted with. The kind of agency that worked quietly and carried serious weight. I closed the laptop, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table. My mind circled back to the uploads. Noah's workstation, external servers, bypassed protocols. I'd documented everything out of habit, but I hadn't considered the larger implications. What if those files contained classified material? What if Noah had uploaded sensitive data without clearance? What if Elliot knew and buried it? I opened my laptop again, located the folder where I'd saved the audit logs. Dates, timestamps, destination addresses, all clean, all organized, all accurate. I hadn't stolen anything. I hadn't accessed restricted files. I'd simply recorded what the system showed me. That was my job. I responded to the email at 11:47 p.m. Available to speak. Please advise next steps. The reply came 6 minutes later. Meeting scheduled, Thursday, 9 a.m. Address provided below. Come alone. Bring nothing. I read it twice. Then I went to bed. I didn't sleep well. Not because I was afraid, because I was thinking. Thursday morning arrived cold and clear. I dressed in a plain button-down shirt and jeans. No tie, no jacket. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. The address led me to an unmarked building downtown. Gray concrete, tinted windows, no signage. I parked in the visitor lot and walked to the entrance. A man in a dark suit met me in the lobby, mid-30s, neutral expression. He scanned my ID without speaking and gestured toward a hallway. The conference room was small, white walls, single table, 4 chairs, a camera mounted in the corner, red light blinking. A man in his 60s sat at the far end of the table. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses, steady gaze. "Mr. Varon," he said, "I'm Harold Weiss, National Security Director. Thank you for coming." I sat down. "What's this about?" "Crane Technologies," he said simply. "You were terminated 2 days ago." "Yes." "Can you tell me why?" I kept my tone even. "The CEO said I undermined family trust." "Did you?" "I submitted audit reports. I flagged unauthorized uploads. I followed protocol." Weiss nodded slowly. "And those uploads? Where did they go?" "External servers, not on the approved vendor list." "Do you know what was in those files?" "No, I didn't have access to file contents, only metadata." Weiss leaned back. "Mr. Varon, Crane Technologies holds multiple contracts involving classified material. Some of that material is subject to strict handling protocols. Any unauthorized transfer triggers automatic federal review." I felt my pulse steady. "You're saying those uploads contained classified data?" "I'm saying we're investigating the possibility." "And you think I can help?" "I think," Weiss said carefully, "that you documented something others chose to ignore." I met his gaze. "I kept logs, standard practice, nothing more." "Those logs," Weiss said, "do you still have them?" "Yes." "Good. We'll need them. But not today. Today, I need you to understand something." He leaned forward. "This investigation is now federal. It's no longer internal. It's no longer about policy or protocol. It's about law." "And Elliot Crane?" "He'll have an opportunity to explain himself," Weiss said, "as will his son." I nodded. "What do you need from me?" "Patience," Weiss said, "and silence. Do not contact anyone at Crane Technologies. Do not discuss this meeting. Do not alter or delete any records you have, understand?" "Yes," Weiss stood. "We'll be in touch. Soon." I left the building, drove home, sat in my apartment and stared at the ceiling. 24 hours ago, I was unemployed and angry. Now I was a witness in a federal investigation. I opened my laptop, located the folder with the audit logs, backed it up to an encrypted drive, then I backed it up again. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel righteous. I just felt tired. That evening, my phone buzzed. A text from Lux Frost. "Heard you met with someone. Be careful, Kolby." I didn't respond. Another text arrived an hour later. Unknown number. "Board meeting scheduled for Monday. You're invited. Don't miss it." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I set the phone down and went to bed. This time, I slept. Friday morning. I woke early, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table and thought. The text from the unknown number replayed in my mind. Board meeting. Monday. I wasn't an employee anymore. Why would I be invited? I opened my laptop and checked my personal email. Nothing new. I checked the encrypted drive where I'd stored the audit logs, still intact, still safe. I spent the day organizing, not because I needed to, because it gave me something to do. I pulled up every file I'd saved over the past 3 months, access logs, Upload timestamps, server addresses, training records. I cross-referenced them with company protocols. Everything matched. Everything was clean. Noah Crane had uploaded files to unauthorized servers 5 times. He'd bypassed 2 verification layers each time. He hadn't completed the required security training. None of this was speculation. It was fact. I labeled each folder by date. No names, no accusations, just data. By evening, I had a timeline, clear, concise, undeniable. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. This wasn't about revenge. I wasn't angry. I was just tired of being treated like I didn't matter. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Monday, 10 a.m. Crane Technologies boardroom. Be ready. I didn't respond. I shut my laptop and went to bed. Saturday was quiet. I ran errands, bought groceries, returned home. Normal life resumed, but it felt hollow. I kept checking my phone, waiting for something. I wasn't sure what. Sunday morning, I received an email from a law firm I didn't recognize. Subject line, confidential consultation. I opened it. Mr. Varon, we represent federal oversight in matters involving classified material. We'd like to speak with you regarding your employment at Crane Technologies. Please call at your earliest convenience. A phone number was listed below. I called. A woman answered. Professional. Direct. Mr. Varon, thank you for calling. My name is Linda Kowalski. I'm an attorney specializing in federal compliance. I need to ask you a few questions. Go ahead. Did you document any irregularities during your employment at Crane Technologies? Yes. I submitted audit reports to internal compliance. And were those reports acted upon? No. Did you retain copies of those reports? Yes. Good. Have you altered or deleted any records? No. There was a pause. Then she said, Mr. Varon, I need you to understand something. If classified material was transferred without authorization, that's a federal offense. It triggers mandatory reporting protocols. Those protocols have already been activated. By whom? By the system itself, she said. Automated monitoring flagged the uploads. Once flagged, the law requires escalation. This is no longer internal. It's institutional. And my role? You're a witness, nothing more, but your documentation will be critical. What happens now? Monday's meeting, she said. You'll be present. So will federal representatives. Elliot Crane and his son will also be present. The board will be informed of the investigation. After that, the process moves forward. And if Elliot tries to stop it? He can't, she said simply. The law doesn't negotiate. I hung up, sat in silence, stared at the wall. This was real. This was happening. Sunday evening, I walked to a coffee shop near the office. Small place, quiet. I ordered black coffee and sat by the window. A man approached my table. Mid-40s, casual clothes, familiar face, Lux Frost. He sat down without asking. You shouldn't be here, Kolby. I'm just having coffee. You know what I mean. His voice was low, tense. This thing you're doing, it's going to blow up. You need to walk away. I didn't start this, I said. You flagged the uploads. You pushed when you should have stopped. I followed protocol. Lux leaned closer. Elliot is connected. Martha's on his side. The board will back him. You're going to lose. I met his gaze. Maybe, but the system won't. He stared at me. Then he stood. You're making a mistake. He left. I finished my coffee, walked home, went to bed. Monday morning arrived. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke at 6, showered, dressed in dark slacks and a white button-down shirt. No tie. Professional, but not formal. I wanted to look like someone who belonged in that room without trying to impress anyone. I made coffee, drank it standing at the kitchen counter, checked my phone. No new messages. The calendar reminder blinked at me. Board meeting, 10 a.m. I arrived at Crane Technologies at 9:30. The visitor lot was nearly empty. I parked near the entrance and sat in my car for a moment, hands on the wheel, staring at the glass doors I'd walked through 1,000 times before. This time felt different. I stepped out, locked the car, walked to the entrance. My old badge didn't work, but the receptionist recognized me. She hesitated, picked up the phone, spoke quietly. 2 minutes later, a security guard appeared. "Mr. Varon," he said, "follow me." We walked through the lobby, polished floors, glass walls, corporate art that cost more than most people's cars. Employees glanced at me as we passed. Some looked away quickly, others stared. The elevator ride was silent. The guard pressed the button for the top floor. We ascended without speaking. The boardroom was at the end of the hallway. Double doors, frosted glass panels. The guard opened them and stepped aside. I walked in. The room was exactly as I remembered. Long conference table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city, a projector mounted on the ceiling, recording equipment set up in the corner, red lights already blinking. 10 people were seated. Elliot Crane at the head of the table, posture rigid, jaw tight. Noah beside him, trying to look confident, but failing. Martha Ellison across from them, hands folded, expression neutral. Lux Frost near the back, avoiding eye contact. Board members I recognized but couldn't name. 2 men in dark suits near the windows. Federal agents, silent, watching. And at the far end of the table, Harold Weiss. He looked up when I entered, nodded once. Elliot's eyes followed me as I crossed the room. His expression was cold, controlled. "Mr. Varon, take a seat." I sat near the middle of the table, close enough to see everyone's faces, far enough to maintain distance. Martha cleared her throat. "Let's begin. This meeting was requested by federal oversight. Harold, you have the floor." Weiss stood slowly. He didn't smile. He didn't rush. He simply walked to the front of the table where everyone could see him clearly. "Thank you, Martha," he said. His voice was calm, professional, the kind of voice that carried weight without effort. "My name is Harold Weiss. I'm the Director of Federal Systems Oversight. I'm here because automated monitoring identified unauthorized file transfers originating from this company. Those transfers bypassed security protocols. They were sent to external servers not approved for classified material. Under federal law, that constitutes a violation." Elliot leaned back in his chair. "Violations happen. They're corrected internally. There's no need for federal involvement." "There is when classified data is exposed," Weiss said flatly. Noah laughed. It sounded forced. "Classified? We're a defense contractor. Everything we touch is classified. That doesn't mean every file transfer is a crime." Weiss turned to face him. "It does when the person transferring files hasn't completed mandatory security training." Noah's smile faded. Weiss continued, his tone unchanged. "Noah Crane, Junior Executive, Operations Division, hired 18 months ago, required to complete 3 levels of security clearance training. Completion records show 0 modules finished, access privileges granted anyway. Authorization signed by Elliot Crane." The room went silent. I watched faces. Martha's eyes widened slightly. Luck shifted in his seat. The board members exchanged glances. Elliot's voice was sharp. "My son has been trained. Those records are outdated." "No," Weiss said. "They're current. I verified them this morning with your HR department." He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a folder, opened it, laid 3 printed pages on the table. "These are the uploads, 5 in total. Dates, times, destination servers, file sizes, all documented, all flagged by automated monitoring, all traced back to Noah Crane's workstation." Martha leaned forward. "Where did the initial documentation come from?" Weiss glanced at me. "From your former senior systems engineer, Kolby Varon, who flagged the uploads 3 months ago, who submitted detailed reports to internal compliance, who was ignored, who was then terminated for undermining family trust." Elliot's face darkened. He was terminated for insubordination. He was terminated, Weiss said, because he documented your son's negligence, and you buried it to protect your family. That's a lie. It's documented fact. Elliot stood abruptly. This is absurd. I'm calling our legal team right now. Do that, Weiss said. But understand something, Mr. Crane. This investigation is no longer internal. It's federal. Your lawyers can advise you. They can represent you. But they cannot stop this process. Noah stood as well. His voice cracked slightly. This is targeting. You're using a disgruntled employee to attack my father. Weiss turned to him slowly. I'm using federal law to address a security breach. Your father protected you. That's understandable. Natural even. But it's also illegal when it involves classified material. The two federal agents stepped forward, not threatening, just present, positioned between the doors and the table. Martha spoke carefully. Harold, what exactly are you saying? Weiss looked at Elliot, then at Noah. His expression didn't change. I'm saying that classified material was transferred without authorization. I'm saying that security protocols were intentionally bypassed. I'm saying that mandatory training requirements were ignored, and I'm saying that all of this was enabled and concealed by executive privilege. He pointed at Elliot. You knew about the violations. You received reports. You ignored them. You terminated the one person who tried to follow proper channels. Elliot's hands gripped the edge of the table. You can't prove intent. I don't need to prove intent, Weiss said. The system already documented the violations. Intent is irrelevant when classified material is compromised. He reached into his briefcase again, pulled out another folder, thicker this time, placed it on the table and opened it slowly, methodically. This, he said, is the automated security log from your company's network. Every upload, every download, every access point, time-stamped, cross-referenced with clearance records, automatically flagged when protocols are violated. He flipped through pages. October 14th, Noah Crane uploaded a file to an external server at 11:47 p.m. The file was 347 megabytes. It bypassed 2 verification layers. The destination server was registered to a company in Eastern Europe. Martha's face went pale. Eastern Europe? Yes. Elliot's voice shook slightly. That doesn't mean anything. We work with international partners all the time. Not this one, Weiss said. This server is flagged by federal monitoring. It's been linked to data aggregation services that collect technical information and sell it to third parties. Some of those third parties have connections to foreign intelligence operations. The room was completely silent now. No one moved. No one spoke. Weiss turned another page. November 2nd. Another upload. Larger file. Same server. Same bypass pattern. This one included technical schematics for satellite integration systems. Martha closed her eyes briefly. Harold, how serious is this? Very serious, Weiss said. If those schematics reach certain parties, you're looking at national security implications. Foreign intelligence, corporate espionage, potential violations of international defense treaties. Elliot's voice was hoarse. This is speculation. You don't know for certain what was in those files. Actually, Weiss said, I do. We recovered them. The files contained classified defense specifications, encryption protocols, satellite integration designs, all marked confidential under federal security guidelines, all uploaded by your son to an unsecured foreign server. He closed the folder. The sound echoed in the silent room. Under federal law, Weiss continued, unauthorized transfer of classified material carries a minimum penalty of 5 years imprisonment. Enabling that transfer as an executive officer carries additional charges. Obstruction of internal compliance procedures adds more. Retaliatory termination of a whistleblower is a separate violation. Elliot's face was red now. His voice rose. You're destroying this company. You're destroying everything my father built. No, Weiss said calmly. Your son compromised classified material. You concealed it. Those actions have consequences. Martha stood. Her voice was steady but strained. Harold, what happens now? What's the procedure? Weiss gestured toward the two agents. These gentlemen will be conducting formal interviews with Elliot Crane and Noah Crane, separately, on the record, under oath. Legal counsel is strongly advised. Noah's face went pale. Wait, you're arresting us? Not at this moment, Weiss said, but that depends entirely on your cooperation during the interview process. Elliot slammed his hand on the table. The sound cracked through the room. This is harassment. This is a witch hunt. I'm calling the board's attorney immediately. Please do, Weiss said. His tone remained unchanged, calm, professional. But understand that this meeting is being recorded. Every word, every gesture, every statement. Refusal to cooperate will be documented and noted in the official investigation report. He turned to Martha. As board chair, you're required under federal subpoena to provide full access to company records, financial records, operational logs, personnel files. The subpoena will be formally delivered within the hour. Martha nodded slowly. I understand. We'll cooperate fully. Elliot stared at her. You're siding with them? Against me? I'm siding with the law, Martha said quietly. That's my legal obligation as board chair. Noah's voice was desperate now. This is insane. I made a mistake. One mistake. You're treating me like some kind of criminal. You committed a federal security violation, Weiss said. Whether you understood that at the time is irrelevant. I didn't mean to. Intent doesn't matter in security law, Weiss interrupted. Protocols exist for specific reasons. You bypassed them. Your father enabled it. Both of you are now accountable under federal statute. Elliot's voice dropped low. Dangerous. You're going to regret this, Weiss. Weiss met his gaze without blinking. No, Mr. Crane, you are. He turned to the agents. Please escort Mr. Elliot Crane and Mr. Noah Crane to separate interview rooms. Begin formal questioning immediately. Document everything. The agents moved forward, professional, efficient. One approached Elliot. One approached Noah. Neither man resisted physically, but neither moved willingly. Elliot turned and looked directly at me. His eyes burned with rage, pure, undiluted fury. This is your fault, he said. His voice was low, venomous. You did this. You destroyed this company. You destroyed my family. I met his gaze, held it. My voice was calm. I documented violations. I followed protocol. I reported through proper channels. You chose to ignore it. You chose to terminate me. Those were your decisions. Elliot's jaw clenched. His hands trembled slightly. The agent touched his arm gently. Sir, please. Elliot turned and walked toward the door. His steps were heavy, deliberate. Noah followed. His confidence had completely evaporated. His shoulders slumped. He looked younger now, smaller, scared. The doors closed behind them with a soft click. The room exhaled collectively. Martha sat down heavily. Harold, what happens to the company itself? That depends, Weiss said. If the board cooperates fully, if the remaining records are clean, if no further violations are discovered, the company can continue operations. But Elliot Crane's position is terminated effective immediately. Noah Crane's employment is terminated. Neither will hold any position in this company or any related entity. Lux Frost spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet. And what about Kolby? Weiss glanced at me. Mr. Varon followed established protocols. He documented security violations. He reported them through proper channels. He was terminated in retaliation. That's a separate legal issue the company will need to address. Martha nodded quickly. We'll reinstate him immediately. Full back pay. Formal apology on the record. I shook my head. I don't want reinstatement. Martha blinked. What? I don't want to come back here, I said clearly. I want full severance, complete benefits package, and a clean reference letter. Weiss smiled very slightly. That seems fair. Martha hesitated only a moment. Agreed. Done. I stood. Then we're finished here. Weiss extended his hand across the table. I shook it. His grip was firm. Thank you, Mr. Varon, he said. You did the right thing. Not the easy thing. The right thing. I nodded, released his hand, turned toward the door. Behind me, I heard Martha's voice, quiet, shaken. Harold, how long until this becomes public knowledge? 48 hours, Weiss said. Maybe less. Federal indictments are public record. I walked out of the boardroom, down the hallway, into the elevator, through the lobby, out the glass doors into the cold morning air. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. It's over. Well done. I looked at it for a moment, then deleted it. Got in my car, drove home through light morning traffic. The city looked the same. The mountains in the distance looked the same. But something had shifted. I parked, walked to my apartment, unlocked the door, stepped inside, set my phone on the counter, made coffee, stood at the window looking out at the city below. It was over. Elliot Crane was finished. Noah Crane was finished. Their legacy would be scandal and federal prosecution. And me? I was free. I didn't watch the news that night. I didn't open social media. I didn't read emails. I sat alone in my apartment and thought about what came next. The severance was already secured. Martha had agreed to everything. Full benefits, a clean reference, no non-compete clauses, no restrictions. I could work anywhere, do anything. But first, I needed to wait. Tuesday morning, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls, 12 voicemails, 23 emails. All from journalists, all asking the same questions. Mr. Varon, can you comment on the federal investigation? Did you blow the whistle on Crane Technologies? What was your relationship with Elliot Crane? I didn't listen to a single voicemail. I deleted them all, marked the emails as spam, and turned the phone face down on the table. By Wednesday, the story broke nationally. CEO covers up security breach to protect son, defense contractor under federal investigation, whistleblower documentation triggers federal case, major networks picked it up, photos appeared everywhere, Elliot and Noah being escorted out of the building, Crane Technologies headquarters surrounded by reporters, my own image pulled from some outdated professional profile I'd forgotten existed. Some articles praised me, others questioned my motives. I didn't respond to any of it. Thursday morning, Martha Ellison called. Her voice sounded tired, stripped of authority. She thanked me, then apologized. She said the board had voted unanimously the night before. Elliot and Noah were permanently barred from any position within the company. Federal proceedings were underway. The company was cooperating fully. My severance package was finalized. 2 years' salary, continued benefits, health coverage for 18 months, and a $750,000 settlement for wrongful termination. I accepted and ended the call. Friday, the money appeared in my account. Direct deposit. I checked the number 3 times to be sure it was real. It was. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the screen. I hadn't won through confrontation or emotion. I'd won through documentation, through process, through patience. Saturday, I drove west out of the city, took the highway toward the mountains, stopped at a small diner I'd never been to before, ordered coffee and eggs, watched snow fall quietly in the parking lot. My phone buzzed. A text from Harold Weiss. Federal charges officially filed yesterday. Elliot Crane and Noah Crane both indicted. Trial scheduled for next spring. Your documentation is central to the case. I replied, understood. The following days moved fast. Federal prosecutors contacted me. I agreed to testify when required and was instructed not to discuss the case with anyone, media, friends, or family. I complied. Journalists kept calling. I ignored them. Job offers started arriving. Senior roles, better pay. Companies that valued precision instead of punishing it. Interviews were scheduled within hours. Lux Frost called. He apologized, said he'd resigned, admitted he should have acted when I first raised concerns. I didn't comfort him. Crane's board sent a formal letter acknowledging my ethical conduct and confirming my termination had been retaliatory. It was signed by every board member. I read it once and filed it away. Seattle flew me out for an interview. First class. 2 hours of technical questions and strategic discussions. The offer came before I left the building. Senior systems architect, significant salary increase, stock options, full relocation. Austin followed with a similar proposal. I chose Seattle. Elliot and Noah posted bond. They were free for now, but restricted. No travel, regular check-ins, passports surrendered. The trial would destroy them. The evidence was overwhelming. Crane Technologies began collapsing in public. Stock dropped sharply. Clients suspended contracts. Federal agencies reviewed every active project. Long-term partners distanced themselves. The damage was irreversible. 2 weeks after the boardroom meeting, I signed my new contract and began packing. I backed up the original audit logs, insurance, history, proof, and sealed them carefully. On moving day, my phone buzzed. Crane Technologies files for bankruptcy protection. I pulled over and read the article. Chapter 11. 3 weeks. That's all it took. Elliot Crane's legacy, gone. Not through revenge, not through drama, through documentation, through patience, through the system. I merged back onto the highway and drove west toward the mountains. New city, new company, new life. Behind me, everything he built turned to dust. Spring arrived. The trial date was set, June 15th, federal courthouse in Denver. I booked my flight 3 weeks in advance. The media coverage intensified as the trial approached. Every major news network covered it. Biggest defense contractor security breach in decades. CEO and son face 25 years for classified data transfer. June 14th. I flew back to Denver, checked into a hotel near the courthouse, reviewed my notes. Not that I needed to. Every detail was burned into my memory. June 15th, trial day. I arrived at the courthouse at 8:30. Security was tight, metal detectors, ID checks, uniformed officers everywhere. Linda Kowalski met me in the hallway. Ready? Yes. We entered the courtroom. It was packed. Journalists, court observers, federal officials. Elliot and Noah sat at the defense table with their attorneys. Elliot saw me enter. His eyes locked onto mine, pure hatred. I met his gaze calmly. The judge entered. Everyone stood. We're here for United States versus Elliot Crane and Noah Crane. Charges include unauthorized transfer of classified material, obstruction of federal oversight, and retaliation against a protected whistleblower. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the government calls Kolby Varon. I walked to the witness stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor approached. Mr. Varon, please state your name and former occupation. Kolby Varon, Senior Systems Engineer at Crane Technologies for 16 years. Why were you terminated? The CEO said I undermined family trust. I had flagged security violations committed by his son. The prosecutor picked up a thick folder. Do you recognize this? Yes, those are the audit logs I documented. What do these logs show? 5 unauthorized file uploads from Noah Crane's workstation. Each upload bypassed security protocols. Each was sent to external servers, not approved for classified material. And you reported these violations? Yes, twice. First to internal compliance, then to the board chair. Nothing happened. A week later, I was terminated. No further questions. Elliot's lawyer stood. Mr. Varon, isn't it true you harbored resentment toward the Crane family? No. Then why did you go to federal authorities? I didn't. They came to me. Automated monitoring flagged the uploads independently. I simply confirmed the documentation. You expect this jury to believe you had no personal vendetta? I expect this jury to review the evidence. The logs are forensically verified. The uploads are documented. The security breaches are factual. My feelings are irrelevant. No further questions. I stepped down. The trial continued for 3 days. Expert witnesses, federal investigators, each one confirmed what I'd documented. June 18th. Closing arguments. The prosecutor stood before the jury. This case is simple. Classified material was transferred without authorization, security protocols were bypassed, a whistleblower was silenced, the evidence is overwhelming, the defendants are guilty. Elliot's lawyer made his final appeal. The government wants you to destroy a family over honest mistakes. That's human. That's not criminal. The prosecutor stood for rebuttal. Protecting your child is human. Concealing national security breaches is criminal. The law applies to everyone. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. At 4:47 p.m., the bailiff emerged. Jury's back. We filed into the courtroom. The jury entered. The judge spoke. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman stood. We have, Your Honor. In the case of United States versus Elliot Crane, on the charge of unauthorized transfer of classified material, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of obstruction of federal oversight? Guilty. On the charge of retaliation against a protected whistleblower? Guilty. Elliot's face went pale. In the case of United States versus Noah Crane, on the charge of unauthorized transfer of classified material? Guilty. On the charge of bypassing federal security protocols? Guilty. Noah's head dropped into his hands. The judge continued without pause. Elliot Crane, you are sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Noah Crane, you are sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Both sentences begin immediately. Bail is revoked. The gavel struck. Federal marshals moved forward. Handcuffs clicked onto wrists. Elliot turned his head, found me in the crowd. His eyes met mine one final time. Just hollow defeat. I held his gaze. The marshals led them toward the side door. The door opened. They disappeared. Gone. I stood, walked out, got in my car, drove to the airport, flew back to Seattle. That evening, I poured a glass of whiskey, raised it toward the window. Elliot Crane had thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. I'd won. Completely.